There is significant outstanding business that Congress needs to complete before the end of the year. My Republican colleagues and I have stated over and over that we still want to pass more coronavirus relief for the American people. Senate Republicans have voted multiple times to send hundreds of billions of dollars to schools, small businesses, health care, and laid-off workers. If Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer had not made the calculation to block it, that money could have been out the door many weeks ago. Instead, our Democratic colleagues have spent months, literally months, holding all of that urgent help hostage over unrelated left-wing wish list items. Their so-called heroes proposal is so unrealistic that poorly targeted that Speaker Pelosi's own moderate Democrats ridiculed the bill the instant she put it out and said it'll never become law. It includes things like a massive tax cut for wealthy people in blue states and huge sums of money for state and city governments with no linkage to demonstrated COVID needs. Some blue states, including New York and California, have actually seen higher state income tax revenues this autumn than they saw during the same months last year, in part because they are taxing a chunk out of vulnerable people's unemployment benefits. They're receiving more tax revenue now than they did in 2019. Some of these blue states are receiving more revenue now than they did in 2019. But alas, Democrats still want coronavirus relief for the entire country held hostage over a massive slush fund for their own use. Well, even if our Democratic colleagues continue to block any bipartisan pandemic relief from becoming law, there are other responsibilities we still need to tackle together. The federal government is currently funded through December the 11th. The next few days will tell us a lot about whether Congress can pull off the bipartisan, bicameral appropriations process that I believe both sides would like to deliver. Last week, our colleagues on the Senate Appropriations Committee released all 12 bills for fiscal year 2021. The bills would fully fund all kinds of crucial priorities, from securing our border to caring for our veterans to supporting public health at this particularly critical time. What needs to happen now is quite simple. Our colleagues on the committee and their counterparts in the House need to continue their bicameral discussions and settle on top-line dollar amounts for each separate bill. I hope they'll be able to reach this broad agreement by the end of this very week. That would help keep us on course to deliver full-year funding legislation, which helps our armed forces and all federal agencies plan and get ahead of the curve by the December deadline. For nearly 2 years now, we've avoided the drama that had become a Washington routine and funded our government on a bipartisan basis. Last August, we passed a 2-year bipartisan funding agreement that let our committees do their work, even amid this divided government. When both sides have honored the agreement and kept bills clean of poison pills, Chairman Shelby has been able to deliver full-year bills without drama. I hope we can replicate that successful pattern this year. Congress should also reach a bipartisan, bicameral compromise on the National Defense Authorization Act and pass a conference report before the end of the year. Our men and women in uniform need every tool and resource to confront the great power competitors, rogue states, and terrorists who wish us harm. Congress should be an asset to our own service members, not a liability. This year would make the 60th consecutive year Congress will have passed an NDAA. This is no time to break that streak and leave our forces in the lurch. Let's get this done and pass a conference report through both chambers this year. Committees are working. The full Senate is keeping busy with one of the core constitutional responsibilities we have, continuing to confirm well-qualified men and women to lifetime appointments to the federal judiciary. Yesterday, we voted to advance the nomination of Christy Haskins Johnson, the current Solicitor General of Mississippi, with multiple impressive clerkships under her belt, to serve as a district judge for the Southern District of Mississippi. She'll make history as the first woman to join the bench in that district. This is just the first of several nominations we'll consider this week. We'll also vote on Benjamin Beaton, a Kentuckian who has been nominated to be a district judge for the Western District of Kentucky. This Paducah native is yet another outstanding choice by President Trump. Mr. Beaton received a first-rate education from Kentucky's Center College and then Columbia Law School, where he edited the Law Review. He clerked on the D.C. Circuit and on the Supreme Court for the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Since then, Mr. Beaton has excelled at some of the country's top law firms. He's also undertaken a substantial pro bono caseload and shown a dedication to community service. At each step, the nominee has demonstrated a firm commitment to the Constitution and the rule of law. The American Bar Association has confirmed what Kentuckians already knew. Mr. Beaton is well qualified to serve as a district judge. Last month, our colleagues on the Judiciary Committee advanced this brilliant nominee with no members voting in opposition. I urge all my colleagues to join me in voting to confirm him later today and our other impressive nominees this week. Now, this week's nominees are only the latest example of the incredible qualifications that have characterized President Trump's nominees. Take the metric that our Democratic colleagues have called the gold standard, the ratings of the left-leaning American Bar Association. As of a few months ago, across all the people that President Trump had nominated to the federal district courts, 68.8% had earned the ABA's top rating of well qualified. If you look back over the last 7 presidential administrations, only one, Bush 43, has managed to post a higher average rating for judicial nominations. Even then, it was only higher by just a hair. Even the Democrats' own proposed gold standard destroys the talking point that President Trump's nominees have been less thoroughly qualified. It's just not factual. It's not true. Earlier this year, looking at clerkships and professional experience, one liberal commentator admitted that, quote, the average Trump appointee has far more impressive resumes than any past president's nominees. Let me say that again. This is a liberal commentator who follows these things, admitted that, quote, the average Trump appointee has a far more impressive resume than any past president's nominees. So, it's pretty hard to argue, Madam President, that these haven't been extraordinary additions to our federal courts. This is a tremendous accomplishment. These are judges who will serve our nation honorably for generations to come. Our colleagues here in the Senate should be rightly proud to have confirmed them. And we're going to continue doing just that.